Amazon sellers, how's it going? My name is Rafael. I am the founder of Share Studio. Today I'm with a very, very interesting guest. He is the one that does behind the scene things in Amazon, I would say. Things that we don't really like doing, and it's a must that we do them because if not, we cannot sell. So actually, it's imperative to have him. We got Ben from Seller Candy. Um, Ben, I have a whole script here to read about your bio, but I want you to give us an idea of who you are and why should we trust what you're about to say.
Yeah, sure. Honestly, I'm glad that you're not going to read it because I don't know what was given to you. So yeah, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. But I've been in the Amazon. Well, first off, let me just say, Rafael, thanks so much for having me on the show. We had you on our show, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And honestly, I was charged up after leaving that show and I was equally as excited to come on here. So thanks again. Really happy to be here. I've been in the Amazon world, I'd say about 6-ish years now. I kind of have gone through the gambit of all of the different parts of it. I was literally working more or less in a warehouse doing pick and pack for a large Amazon wholesaler, started an eBay business on the side. My private label work, then I managed a brand for a company that was doing about 500K-ish a month at its peak. And then after that, went on to work for an agency doing account management, so PPC and kind of the whole nine for about 2 years. And I started up with Seller Candy, and that's where I'm at today. So I'm currently the partnerships manager here at Seller Candy, and yeah, excited to be here. Happy to go wherever the conversation takes us. But that's kind of the short version of my backstory, I suppose.
Question: what is the biggest pain point that your customers receive from the Seller Candy points of view? For example, support not replying to them, or they getting flagged for something specifically. What is like the top 3 pain points when you get clients that they have?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, the cool part about my role is that one, I'm personally not the person who's problems anymore. I've done that. I know how to do a lot of it. But now I just get to hear the problems. And I always joke that I need an Amazon therapist I'm on because you guys I know this as well, but there's so many things that happen and people are just pulling their hair out, especially if you're dealing with seller support. It can be just we call it copy paste hell, right? You get put in kind of this endless cycle with seller support. That being said, to answer the question, I mean, really kind of the most common categories that I would say people are telling me on calls are going to be account health issues. Normally they're coming to us that are in urgent need of something, like they have had either a listing that's been shut down or on the worst case scenario, obviously an account. We do get kind of that side of the equation where it's just a very, very urgent situation. But I would say kind of in terms of like more of your day-to-day, the bulk majority of the requests that we're getting are something related to catalog management, and when I say catalog management, a lot of that's really just going to boil down to either creating new listings, fixing something on a listing, a product detail page. We've had pretty much every single post, anything related to a flat file. Yeah, I mean, when we looked at our ticket volume from last year, so I maybe should step back a little bit and just kind of give the context about what Seller Candy does, which is we provide pretty much tweet-driven support for Amazon sellers, right? This might be helpful. I probably should have led with this, but we pretty much have a team now of about 50 agents. About 90% of them are ex-Amazon seller support staff members. So they have a lot of feeling of the inner workings at Amazon. And we essentially then lend them out to sellers, to agencies, et cetera, to get that support without the need for that seller to go and actually hire their own team. So we deal with all the hiring, the training, the managing, making sure that our team is at the forefront of all the latest changes with Amazon, which we know they're rolling out every single week. So now with that context out of the way, what I will tell you is that the most common category that we see when we look at the sheer number of tickets we had last year, around 15 to 20,000 tickets, third of them were directly related to requests of help with some kind of listing issue or just catalog issue in general. Now, that's obviously a pretty broad categorization, right? There's so many different problems or things that come up within that. So I'm happy to drill down into that a little bit further, but I'd say that's definitely the most common.
Yeah, and in one point in your career, like as a seller and as an account manager before, did you came to the realization that you needed to be kind of like support for the Amazon support? And at what point were you like, this is not going to work, I need to know how to fix all of my problems by myself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I guess like, the second you have, I think the most, as soon as I had an account suspension that I personally had to deal with, I can't remember if it was an account suspension or a listing takedown, but as soon as I had to do anything related to a plan of action, I don't remember the very first one because now I've done so many of them, but where it was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. And that was really where it clicked in my head, like, oh, I have to, like, they're so vague. They're telling me my account's taken down or my listing is, but they're not telling me really why. So it was like this, like I had to kind of figure it out and unpack it in like tons of back and forth. So that was in the job where I was actually managing a brand that was, selling pretty expensive products in kind of the IT tech. So it was doing, about 500,000 at its peak. And so that's really where I start to see the volume of issues kind of start cropping up. And it was pretty much me by myself managing the account. Volume perspective, I was like, there's so many cases that I have to manage. There's so many issues. I'm looking at returns, inventory management, all of that stuff. And yeah, it's not always easy to find the support you need, when you need it for the cost that you need it for. Now, on top of that, the other thing I'll say is that was like 4 years ago when I was in that part of the equation. It's also gotten more challenging as we've gone forward, right? Like the thing I always point out, and Rafael, Pichu, I know you guys will know this, but listing updates, you used to be able to literally, hey, I want to update my image, edit, upload your image, and it goes through and it's live on the listing, right? Now it's like you literally cannot get away with making updates to listings unless you know how to use flat files, more or less, and use them very, very well. So I'd say that's also a big factor here is that things have got more complex. You can't do some of the stuff you maybe could get away with or do 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So yeah, anyway, that was my long-winded way of saying that it's kind of been a progression for me, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I got a question actually, Peach, if you don't mind. Tell him about stories, because Ben mentioned that he has a bunch of stories. Halloween's around the corner, Ben. I love Halloween personally. Spooky. I went to the theaters the other day, saw
what costume are you gonna wear?
Just my face. That's enough. It scares a lot of people.
That's the costume?
Yeah. So
is that a horror costume or is that like I'm messing with you, Rafael?
Horror, definitely horror. No, my question.
Dang, you're not gonna have me back on your show after that.
No. It's all good. It's all good. I love making jokes like that as well. Peachy knows it. I have a very interesting sense of humor as well. Dude, what is one of the scariest Amazon horror stories that you've been through? You don't have to mention names of the clients or anything. Obviously, I understand that's NDAs and all that are involved. But like, what's like the worst case scenario? Like, how much money have they lost? What happened? How long did their account get suspended? Because that's how I'm gonna tie in what you guys do. But I want to understand the damages that people are facing if they don't use your services, basically.
Yeah, that's a good question. My mind's just like having flash. I feel like my life's flashed. My Amazon life's flashed in my eyes. I'm just thinking back. Yeah, like all these just random little stories, because there's some, like a lot of times I've just had like nowadays, I see a lot of kind of the snippets of what's going on a lot of different clients' accounts versus in the past it was like I'm just focused on one account. I would say so. I'll kind of take you through a few. So one example when I was at this high-end IT one that I always quote on when I'm on calls with some clients is, we would manually get removal orders back to us and process them, right? And removal order, for those of you watching maybe who haven't received removal orders yet or gone through this process, we get them back to our warehouse. It comes a box or many boxes from Amazon with a bunch of different SKUs in it. Normally there's a little piece of paper in there that says, oh, this is going to have these 4 items in there, right? So you kind of know what you're supposed to be getting. I got one that once, and it was supposed to have a very, very expensive, like $500 piece of electronic equipment in it. And I opened the box up expecting even if it's damaged, I was expecting this one SKU, right? I open it up, and instead of this $500 like expensive electronic product, it literally is a 6-pack of Tupperware that probably could not have cost more than like $2 or $3. And that one was just like so comical. We ended up opening a case, right? Like, and taking all the pictures and got a refund for that. But just like, how did you make that mistake, Amazon? Right now, hopefully they've improved. I don't know. So another one, I remember I talked to a client. Actually, I don't think he ended up becoming a client, but someone about a year and a half ago. And this happens quite often. But this particular client, he had sent a pallet of products to Amazon, right? Heavy pallet, right? And it was probably thousands of units. He told me it was worth, I want to say about $100,000. Amazon checked it in at their warehouse. He used an Amazon partnered carrier for the freight inbound in at their warehouse and said 0 units received. And the weight of the pallet, the only weight that they logged was like the 2 pounds of the wood that sits at the bottom. So they literally somehow lost the entire pallet and forth with them for, I want to say, like 6 months at that point. Yeah, we're talking, it was a sizable number. I don't know if he ended up getting that reimbursed, because I know it was something that I don't think we ended up helping him with that, but that was a pretty, that kind of situation. I'll give you one other, and this is more on the funny side, but I remember there's this one client that I was working quite closely, and I can't remember when this was, but whatever their brand name was, they were brand registered. They had a storefront. However, their storefront, so if you were on their actual product detail page for whatever their SKU is, let me just call it a kitchen product, a garlic press. If you clicked on the brand name that normally would link back to your brand storefront, their brand name was linking to a storefront of a brand that had the same name. Unfortunately, that brand was selling adult products that were very prominently delayed, and so all of their listings had this issue where if you click the brand, it literally would link back to a completely different brand with the same name, but their adult product storefront. Which so there was a lot of back and forth with Amazon to get, and then that was triggering they advertise, because Amazon was somehow linking it all through, right? You can't advertise adult products, so that was an interesting one too.
So they were selling, let's just assume, I don't know, baby products, and they were getting a bunch of dildos instead. Amazing.
More or less. Fortunately, I would say, that's like the most extreme. I don't think it was kids products, thank goodness, but still, it was like kitchen products or something else. Still horrible. I mean, fingers crossed. I hope they got it fixed, because I didn't work on that.
The amount of things that Amazon does and things that happen. Well, we have to also give them some credit and understand them that they're a huge company. They're just so big, and thank goodness there are companies like Stellar Candy that comes in and helps us out a little bit, and not a little bit, just a lot in the back end, especially with all that Amazon stuff. Can you walk us through services of Stellar Candy and maybe if you can share how much you guys charge and all that? Sweet people, I like to go into the battlefield, understanding how much I'm gonna spend, right, and how they can help me.
Yeah.
So if you can walk us through all these things, so we understand it, and the viewers can understand where they're gonna spend their money at and how much.
I totally get that. That's a great question. I was going to say, first off, just because I feel like it doesn't get said enough, and Rafael, you just brought it up, but Amazon's easy to hate a lot of times, especially, on the seller side, obviously we have a myriad of problems we have to deal with. On the, if you're just a consumer, it's easy to be like, oh, this mega monopoly, blah, 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 they're, capitalism. And it's easy to kind of hate on that. The reality is if we all step back for a second, Amazon really has created a wonderful solution. And I'm just talking about, the e-commerce side, but also they've got AWS, they've got this whole ecosystem of things, and we don't give them enough credit in many ways. I mean, they're creating jobs for us as well, right? So just wanted to shout that out. That being said, there are a lot of frustrations in Canada. So just transitioning to Stellar Candy. So essentially our core service is what we call Stellar Candy Unlimited. And that's really where we have a subscription style model where, again, sellers or agencies or, we have aggregators that work with us, or even some service providers. But whoever you are, anyone who's selling on Amazon, you essentially can pay a monthly subscription to get access to our team, who's training, the hiring, the managing, and essentially you get to leverage our team to pretty much have them help you out with just about anything that might come up within your account or your client's account. Amazon's gotten a lot more complex, right? We work with a lot of agencies that have their own teams of very, very capable people working in-house, right? And I always tell them, it's we're not there to come and replace you, but there's so much going on. And a lot of times, normally the things that are the most important for you as either an agency or if you're the brand owner, it's focusing on what are the needle movers? The needle movers are going to be PPC or strategy, or if you're a brand owner, you're wearing so many different hats. You might just be trying to deal with creating your new products, or you have 10 other channels you're selling on. And so what I always kind of remind people is really what you're able to do here is get access to our team and get yourself out of the trenches of dealing with kind of the frictional stuff that just happens and you have to deal with as an Amazon seller, whether it's your listing's suppressed. You have like someone coming in and doing something, bad and changing your images or your bullet points or whatever. You have an account health issue. Like all of those little things stack up. And as soon as you start to get some volume in your business, like you really do need to bring on help. In a nutshell, like our team is pretty much there to support you with anything that might come up within your account. The only things we don't do are graphic design, which fortunately Carrot Studio crushes it with all that stuff. And we don't do advertising, right? So we're actually not an advertising agency. We just focus on all the other annoying stuff so that you don't have to. So Rafael, Pichu, I mean, does that give you guys the context that you need? And I'm having to go into pricing too.
So I want to know more about also the client success stories. Like, what have you guys done that somebody can relate to? Like, hey, I got my account suspended or deactivated because X, Y, and Z, and this is what we did, and this was the result. So maybe somebody that's having that problem out there, can relate to it.
Yeah. Great question. So the cool thing about our service is, so the way that we operate, like I'll just tell you too. So we have like our own, anyone who signs up for our service, essentially what happens is we create a ticketing portal. That ticketing portal is where you as a seller or client, whatever, you essentially go in there and you pretty much, anytime you have something you want us to work on, all you need to go do is put the category, subcategory, and tell us what the outcome is that you want done. So, hey guys, my listing's suppressed, get it fixed, right? Then what happens is we go and execute on it. We're not going to sit there and ask you, oh, well, how do you do that or this or that? Our agents know how to do that stuff. We essentially will go to work on it and we'll give you updates every hour. And the only time we're going to come back to you is either with that update or if there's something kind of context, right, that's missing that we need from you. We know how to deal with all that happens or that our clients are requesting. Now, with that said, the cool part here is that one, you as a client, you have transparency, you know exactly what's happening. You can use us however you want. And so to kind of circle back to your question, Rafael, it's like every different seller or client we have uses us in a different capacity. We have some, I'm thinking of an aggregator right now that they only use us for like the most challenging issues like account or listing suspensions. So kind of we act as an escalation unit. All the way down to we have the seller that's a seller and they just want help like, hey guys, I need these 10 new listings created. Here's all the info. Can you guys please upload them, right? Being said, like in terms of success stories, I mean, really it's super wide ranging, right? And success story also really is dependent on like the seller on the other. We do have a lot of sellers that come to us and think they have some issue that no one's ever seen or dealt with before. The reality is most of the time that's probably something that's actually fairly common. But the ones that are out there are some nuanced ones, right? That truly are very weird, issues that do come up and normally do require some troubleshooting. So I know there's one that kind of came to mind is I talked to this guy who had he was selling in the European markets and he had to set up, I think his UK and his European markets before they were all like an integrated, before they integrated all of the accounts into a unified platform. And somehow along the road, when he set it up like 8 years ago or 9 years ago, his Germany marketplace only got suspended because of some issue related to that. And he had literally told me that he signed up for our services and he said, honestly, I don't expect you guys to get this because I have gone back and forth for not just 3 months, but 3 years with seller support trying to get his German marketplace. Now, I personally wasn't working on the like nitty gritty, but what I will tell you is the outcome ended up being that we did get it reinstated. It did take like months. So this was a very, very sticky incident, but it got reinstated and it ended up being a very wonderful win for us, right? Our team's really good about being persistent. And at the end of the day, that's what we're good at about doing. It's not sauce in terms of like, we don't have special inside context for like looping things through. Of course, we know people at Amazon, but we still have to go through the system. Everyone does. We're just good about knowing how to do that. And then we're just going to be really persistent and follow up and annoy them endlessly until they fix our issue. So that one came to mind. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a lot of others that are just like kind of the simplest. Rafael, you look pensive. What other question you have?
No, because I was looking at the Seller Candy menu of services, and these are all things that we do not do at Share Studio. We do them in a different way. We do it for our own brands that we sell, but not for Share Studio clients. So these are a lot of things that I personally dislike doing so much. For example, inactive listings, catalog management. That's what Pichu does in our team. Non-PPC promotional opportunities, shipment issues, customer and orders, remove that feedback, remove non-compliant reviews, and all these things that have like reimbursements, operational support, other issues such as FBA settings, brand registry, category and gating, product safety issues, listing policy violations, restricted policy. You guys do a lot of the back end stuff, things people don't want to get
Yeah,
their
pretty
hands.
much.
So basically, at what point would you recommend any seller? Like, of course, you said there was one client that reached out to you like after 3 years of trying. So at what point, before getting into those 3 years and being kind of like defeated, would you recommend any seller to kind of like be like, okay, I need to hire an external agency for them to take care of this? Where is the right point, would you say, for people to reach out to you and your agency and your services?
Yeah, that's an amazing question, Pichu. I think this is kind of like, even if we take Seller Candy out of the equation, like this is really more, the broader question is like, at what point do you bring on someone else or start kind of focusing on building that team, right? First off, it's ideally not when you are at the point where there is an emergency, now you need someone. Hopefully you're kind of, ahead, right? That being said, like there's a couple of factors. Obviously it depends on kind of what your goals are, where you're at as a business. Certainly have clients who are maybe like selling very well through and very established on other platforms or direct to consumer or retail, who are really just getting started and doing less than 10,000 a month in terms of sales on Amazon. But they know they're serious about it and they just want to come in and get a team there to support them. But I would say generally, like what I kind of always tell people in terms of just for a rough kind of dollar amount, but normally right when you're around the $20,000 a month in terms of sales volume, that's really where you kind of start to see, hey, you got some more problems kind of cropping up. And it's really like you as the business owner are either probably trying to launch other products or trying to grow the business, but you're starting to feel that pull, that weight that's kind of pulling you down. And sometimes it's easy to get pulled back into the trenches, right? I've gone through this issue. So our aim, I guess, is we're there whenever you need us. But I would say that 20K mark is kind of where you start to see those things. That being said, if you're a seller who like a burning issue right this second, of course, feel free to reach out to us, or that, of course, that's when you do need to go get help. Beyond that, though, like you're in it for the long term. If you're trying to build a true Amazon business, whether it's private label, wholesale, whatever model you're talking about, I would say, really think about where you're at, think about what you want to do. And the reality is you're going to need to build a team at some point. And whether that means that you're going to bring on a full service agency, that's going to take care of some different components, whether that means you're going to go to Upwork or Fiverr and get some people, multiple people, or you're going to hire people in-house. Those are all different options out there. But I think our solution is, of course, I'm biased. I think it's the best in many ways for that seller that's kind of scaling, or even agency, because one, we can scale up and down with you. So even if you start with us when you're a younger brand and 2 years later, you've grown quite a bit, we have a lot of capacity baked in so we can grow and scale with you. And the big benefit there is that our team's already trained, right? It's not like you have to go out and now bring on a new hire. That's going to take 1-2 months. And now you have to train them and then you have to manage them. And then, what happens if you have to fire that freelancer and start all over? All of these things. We kind of take that out of the equation for you. One other thing I was going to say, Pichu, or Raphael, sorry, question.
I was going to build up on that, what you were saying about, because I'm an Amazon seller and I also am a business owner and agency owner as well. And I didn't go to, like a lot of Amazon sellers, I assume, which are entrepreneurs. I didn't go to business school. I just learned everything as I went and read a lot of books. I read Traction. I read the 7-Figure Roadmap for Agency by Josh Nelson. I read a 12-week year that Carlos Alvarez, my friend.
Are you reading off your bookshelf right now? Are you literally reading all the books out there? I can tell. Nice. Love that.
There's one that I got signed by Gary Vee. No, there's a lot of cool things. One of the biggest hacks, quote unquote hacks, that I didn't know, that everybody told me, but I didn't listen to anybody, was fire faster, but hire fast. Get people to help you, because at some point, if you are selling at 20K, your responsibilities are not going to be the same like you were selling at 5K. At 5K, you were at a different stage. Now at 20K, you have to start thinking more of like, how can I make this 20 into 40? But now you're going to need people maybe like us to help you with pictures. Maybe you were the one doing the pictures before with your iPhone. Now you need professional pictures. You were the one contacting Amazon, opening tickets, doing this, doing that. But now you need people like Seller Candy to do that for you. And is it gonna cost you money? Of course, time is money, right? So, but if you have that time free now, you can possibly put your work and that time into building that company from 20K to 40K. That's the idea behind it. So if anybody's like anybody who wants to take my advice, take it. If not, don't take it. But the more time you can free up your hands, I'd rather make $1,000 not doing anything than making $5,000 doing everything myself. I love that you said that. Like, if you are a seller that's making $20K a year and now it's time to grow, definitely bring in somebody to help you. And this, what you guys do, is like so boring. so definitely it's something that people should get help with.
I know. I wanted to connect as well with the services that Rafa was talking about, and I'm sorry for interrupting. But something that he mentioned was like really like it stuck out for me. So you remove bad reviews and like negative feedback or stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And how
this is a great clip for social media. Ben from Seller Candy is about to tell us how to remove bad reviews from Amazon listing, guys. Click the link below, go check it out, the video right now. Go.
Yes, go. How do you make sure that this process is legit and doesn't go against like Amazon compliance? Because we know that can kind of be like soft ground, you know, like it can be dangerous more if you do it yourself. So how do you guys manage that process, and how do you ensure that it's, you know, 100% compliant with Amazon?
If you don't want to share your trade secrets, it's fine as well. Like it's okay. Like there are some things that you can't say.
No, I mean, to be honest, my answer is going to be I don't want to say it's not going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting, but it's going to be, there is not a magic wand or a secret hack or anything. The reality is, so first of all, Seller Candy, we only do things like buy the books, right? Like we have to, like that's because we're doing stuff for clients, and Amazon's always going to, you know, they're going to smack you if you're messing around, right? Eventually, you might get away with something for a while. That being said, okay, let's talk about reviews. So reviews and feedback, right? So I'm going to segment the two. We obviously, the easy, well, I like to call it the easy one, but getting seller feedback. So, you know, that, you know, about you as a company, you on your profile, that's relatively easy to get removed, right? If it's a critical review, you can go in there from that drop-down menu. You literally can say request removal of review. You know, obviously it violates any of what Amazon deems are a non-compliant, you know, piece of feedback. If it doesn't get removed automatically, and you still think that it should be, you know, certainly you can go and open a case, right? And we do that all the time for clients and have a very good success rate, right? That being said, of course, if it is a true review about you and it does not violate terms of service, yeah, I mean, we have people ask us to get those removed. But look, the reality is that is going to be nearly impossible. I mean, you might get lucky, but so that's on kind of the seller feedback side, right? That is an easier part of the equation. On the actual product ratings or reviews or whatever, we know there's been so many different things over the years and so many different changes. Look, the reality is it's very, very hard. It's really hard for you as a seller to get a review taken off of your Amazon product listing if it clearly violates, even if it clearly violates the terms of service, like you know, they use profanity or somehow call out personal details, or literally it's about a different or wrong product. I mean, those are certainly things that help. But to be honest, what I normally say is like, it really is a volume game. You know, if you're just trying to get one specific, you know, review removed, it's really, really hard. Amazon might just auto decline your request to get that removed. And you can, in some cases, follow up with like more evidence or proof. So like some of the things that we will do to help is obviously we're going to go check the review. We're going to try to see if there's anything we can call out to Amazon. Hey, why this clearly violates the terms of service. One step further that I would tell anyone who's watching is you can also go and check the reviewer's profile. And in certain scenarios, if you see that that reviewer is literally going to products and just leaving 1-star reviews left and right, and that's all they leave, or if there's some way that you can link it and show that, oh, maybe this is one of your competitors, you know, leaving reviews. These are all kind of tricky and challenging things to do, but those are things that you can use as ammo when you go and request that review to be removed. But that being said, like, to be honest, guys, like, and for anyone watching, like, it really is, it's a tough game on that side because Amazon's gotten so strict with it. You know, it really is a volume game. I would say if you have 1,000 reviews on your listing, you can go through and scrape the details and try to call out, oh, here's 100 that I think are critical that I can get removed. Out of those, you might want to en masse open cases, and a percentage will actually get removed. I'd say a small percentage. That is something we help our clients with. That being said, it's very, very challenging. It's one of those things where I kind of equate it to, you know, in our world, there are things that we have a very good success rate with things that have resolution, right? Or a path to resolution. There are in the Amazon world certain things that are very challenging. For example, a client comes to us and says, hey, I don't have the buy box. I need you guys to get the buy box back for me. Well, okay, but do you know how the buy box works? Because the buy box is based on algorithms. Amazon doesn't really publicize the algorithms. We know that there are certain things that play into that, like competitive pricing. Are you a long-standing seller with a good, rating? All those things. But the reality is, even if we go and open cases with seller support and say, hey, we want the buy box, blah, 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 the reps there don't have control over that because it's an algorithm thing. So my point with saying that is it's kind of, we get in the same kind of area with asking for those reviews to get removed, because there's not really a clear path always to get them taken down. It's kind of a volume game. I know that was a very roundabout way of answering the question, but that is honestly the truth about where we're at these days.
There's actually very good feedback. If you're a small seller, right, and you don't have the budget to allocate, hey, maybe do what Ben's telling you. Like, literally just dig in, do your research, literally treat it like you're a lawyer. Go in, see who that person is, stalk this person. Maybe this person is the cousin of the owner of the competition, and then you can link the 1 and 2 together, and boom, you have a. Have you seen the FIFA show on Netflix, Ben? I don't know if you like football.
No,
soccer.
I have not. I went to my first FC Barcelona game ever, so that's a no. I'm not super deep in that world, but tell me.
Well, Joseph Blatter was the FIFA president, right? And he got into a big scandal, millions of dollars, and then the Coleman Bowl. And all
okay, I know about this.
And a bunch of. So maybe you have to go in to do your investigation, and maybe you can get it solved if you have all these proofs that these reviews were done with malicious intent. That's a great feedback, actually. If you have the time, you have the resources, go ahead and do it. Why not?
Well, I was just going to make one more comment there, because I would honestly say that for probably 80% of sellers that are going to see this, or just 80% of sellers out there, it's probably not the best use of your time to even go down that rabbit hole, right? Because I would say it's just like anything. It's like you could spend a ton of time or effort focusing on that. It's probably going to end up being easier to say, how can I actually get more reviews, overall? Like, am I requesting reviews on every single order, or using, there's simple things like that. And my guess is a lot of sellers probably are not doing even those basics. Or, hey, can I focus on PPC instead with that time? Increase my, the orders coming in, and therefore or spend time improving my product, right? Those to me are probably all going to end up being better uses of your time, unless you're truly like, hey, I've got the resources. Let's just, here, my intern go dig into this for the next 4 months. Enjoy, So I would say that's my one caveat there. But
yeah, and also I think one has to kind of learn that reviews, even if they're negative, are going to teach you a lot. They're going to let you know what the things that need to be better about your product, what things maybe you're not targeting, what things can make your product different. So maybe kind of also see those negative reviews as an opportunity for growth, and, develop on the other areas that maybe you need to develop, like PPC and different kind of things, like the content, for example, bettering the experience of the shopper. And that way, even if your product maybe right now it's not the best, with other things and the other benefits that you offer the sellers, the reviews can go up by themselves as well.
Absolutely. And I will say the one other thing, Amazon obviously we know that they are trying to help sellers more, right? They released the widget now, but for anyone that's left a critical review, right? You as a brand owner can do certain things like contact that reviewer and, have a conversation with them, right? And so we know that that might be a more feasible channel. And so make sure, I guess, you're checking the boxes and actually doing those things, right? Before you try to maybe go spend tons of time and hours trying to get that one review removed off your listing.
Yeah.
100%. How you use your time is very important. We all have the same amount of time. Why is Elon Musk more successful than us? He manages time better.
Yeah.
It's just a different way.
Yeah.
I love what you brought up to the table, which is, what can you do to move the needle even more instead of just focusing on that one review and taking it personally? It's business. Don't take it personally.
And one thing I was going to say, Rafael, I wanted to bring this up earlier too, but I think that one of the things that because you guys were asking, when is the right time to come contact Seller Candy or to go build that team out, which is obviously going to be very, come down to where you are as a business owner, kind of where you're at in your own journey. But, that being said is I do see a common pattern, and it's a pattern that I had myself, which is a lot of sellers, they start as a one-man band or maybe a small group, it's very, very easy to start, getting some early success in starting to scale and then falling into now there's all these little problems that are dragging you down. And instead of, again, you pretty much get pulled into working in your business and not on your business, right? And it can be very easy to fill your day with stuff that kind of makes you feel productive during that day. And by the way, I'm saying this out loud. It's always a reminder to myself, like even non-Amazon stuff, right? Like, oh, do I really need to spend my time on those emails or this big project that's actually going to make a big difference? My point being is like, you also need to check in with yourself. Like, because there is a time and a place where, for me, for example, I only know all the Amazon stuff that I know because I spent 3 or 4 or 5, my initial years doing the flat files, writing plans of action, getting on the phone for 4 hours at a time with seller support. It was very, very helpful. And that's something that I do, value that I did that. That being said, if you're a busy business owner and you have a family and kids and all these other things, that might not be the best use of your time unless you're very, you've decided that for yourself. It's easy to fall into that trap though. And so I would just say that's something else that I try to remind people of. And the last thing I was just going to say is a really easy framework you can walk away from watching this. If you're kind of questioning where you're at, is we tell people to go do what we call like a gap analysis or gap audit. Really what this is, I'll give you the very quick version, which is look at where you're at right now. Look through your entire business. I'm just going to talk about Amazon, but you could say my Shopify store and all the other components. But Amazon, like now I'm having challenges with like, is my account health bad, or are my listings, like, are the images, could they use some help? What are all the different things? What am I doing one bad, blah, blah, blah. Then from there, essentially go and put down a score each one of them based on what the impact would be if you got it fixed or improved or taken care of. So PPC, for example, might have a really high impact. This listing that I have that never, ever, ever sells, and it's not a popular product, but it's suppressed right now, low impact, right? And then you want to factor in the time that it's going to take to get these resolved, time/cost, so the money you have to throw towards it. And then from there, that's going to give you a really good kind of starting point and a list where you can literally see like all the things that are either very high, meaningful, and things that then from there you might want to decide, hey, this PPC thing, I want to do this in-house because I know it's going to drive a meaningful, for my business. This thing with my catalog, it's pretty meaningful. I don't want to do this because I hate flat files. Cool. That's something I definitely want to go outsource, right? And for me, the one other thing I say in there is think about the things that you hate doing anything bookkeeping, accounting related. So that's getting a little bit of an extra bump on my list. I'm going to say, hey, this needs to get off my plate. I don't want this. So that's a really easy way for you to start if you're kind of trying to figure out what the best next step is, whether it's to, bring on like ours or get a freelancer because you just have a couple small things, or get a full service agency, right? So anyway, just wanted to call that out.
Great insights for business scale and business growth. Ben, we are running out of time, my friend. How can we reach out to you? Any final words? Anything that you want to add to the table? Floor is yours.
Thanks again for having me, guys. This is fun. I feel like I can't believe this time's flown by. But that being said, of course, website sellercandy.com. We do actually have a really cool service I have not brought up at all, but it's a free service called Ask Seller Candy. Essentially, we have our agents, our core service is a paid service to actually have our agents go and help you with the problem, getting that suppressed or whatever. But if you're not at that level yet, or you just want like truly access to like very knowledgeable people that are in the weeds and can tell you what to do, we have a service called Ask Seller Candy. So it's sellercandy.com/ask. It's free. You sign up for it and you get to actually submit tickets to a live agent. It's not an AI thing. You literally, if you have a question like, hey, what do I do? My listing's suppressed. You submit it here and our agent will actually go and provide feedback and tell you to actually go and do. We won't do it for you, but we can do that. So what I'm saying is it's a great place to start. It's free. You ask questions. The person on the other end is going to be someone who literally is doing those things on a daily basis across 10, 15 client accounts, right? So that's a great way to start with Seller Candy. But beyond that, if you are kind of ready and you think you need some of that additional support, go to our website. You can fill out the which is going to give you an option to book a call with our team. We'll give you a demo. Well, you can ask questions, all that jazz, and that's probably the best way. You can find me on LinkedIn too if you want to reach out to me. I'll give you guys the links to put down below in the description.
Ask Seller Candy. No, I think that's
Ask Seller Candy.
Good, I think that's a really good service, man. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I didn't know about that. We should make a video about that, Ellie. Ellie's in the background. Ellie, you want to say hi to the people? Ellie,
she's sneaky back there.
Yeah, she's like, no.
That's a great idea, actually. That's great.
We should do an Ask Share Studio. That's a great idea. No, that's actually
Yeah,
do that.
you guys
Yeah.
should. Yeah, that
We
is.
should-
You guys should definitely do that.
yeah, that'll be great. Pichu, make sure that we ask a bunch of questions to Ask Seller Candy.
Yes.
Maybe we can use them as well. No,
Now
that's
that
like,
I know.
cool. That's like a
Love
little. That's like a extended mentorship kind of thing that you have with Seller Candy. I think that's great, man.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
like
yeah,
a-
because you know how it is. Like all the information's out there, but the problem is like if you're that seller and you're freaking out, it's Friday afternoon. You like your listing is suppressed. You can go on YouTube and watch 10 different videos and blog posts. Instead, it's easier if you can just go and ask someone who will give you the answer, or point you in the right direction. So
Yeah.
that's what this service is.
That's
It's free.
amazing.
Check it out.
I think that's
Yeah,
amazing.
now that I know, you're gonna be hearing for me like every day. I'm gonna be like, hi. I'm
Sweet.
here.
Me again.
I have a
It's me again.
question
You'll be outside of the mirror, like, hey, it's me. Let me in. All right,
Hi.
guys.
Yeah.
Oh, 15 minutes already. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, please leave it down in the comments below. Ben, I'm sure we'll let Ben know that you asked a question. If not, reach out to Ben through LinkedIn. And if not, Seller Candy is everywhere, guys. I'm pretty sure you can find it. And if you have any more questions, let us know. Reach out to us. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Bye.